so I just wanted to play it safe. They put me on my epidural, and guess what it is? Fentanyl. My epidural is fentanyl, so it says the word fentanyl on the bag that's hanging behind me. And my husband, I remember seeing it in his eyes. Because he's sober, he relapsed the day I gave birth. And we had like 50 grand in the bank. So I had a feeling. Don't ever go against your feeling. I had a feeling. I saw it on his arm, but we had a new baby. There was so much going on. And he took full advantage of that.
So that's our guest today, Krista Flanders, aka Sober Barbie. She's got a vibe that's just one in a million. I'm so glad that we had a chance to get this episode done finally. So hey, listen, today's title sponsor is the Yatra Trauma Center here in Krabi, Thailand, where I reside. My whole journey in Thailand started when I came here to take part in their residential treatment program to get some of the traumas that led me to addiction. Of course, some of the traumas that happened when I was addiction addressed, and it's completely changed my life. I highly recommend you check them out. You can learn more about them at a2apodcast.com/trauma. Lastly, hey, if you're enjoying our content, if you just go ahead, like, comment, share, do all those little interactions on across the different platforms, whatever you're enjoying this on, it really does help us to spread the message, and I appreciate every single interaction so very, very, very much. Hey, I hope you enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, watchers, listeners, supporters of all kinds. Welcome to another episode of the Weekend Ramble on the Ashes to Awesome podcast. I'm your host, Chuck LaFlange, checking in from Krabi, Thailand, halfway around the world, of course. My beautiful co-host in Calgary, Dr. Lisa. How you doing today, Lisa?
I'm doing good. Do you know that yesterday was the first official day of summer, right? Summer solstice was yesterday.
So. Yeah,
and I feel like today's like the first day we've had that is like spring summer weather. Like the sun is shining and it's 25 degrees. And so I'm going to enjoy that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It is literally 25 degrees here right now, and it's midnight. So right, there we go.
I want to swear
American,
at you, but
that's
I won't.
like 80. All right. So
we're at 100 degrees, okay?
Oh, that is hot. That is hot.
It's miserable.
So, and hey, our guest for today, of course, is Krista Flanders, also known as Sober Barbie on Facebook. She's got quite the following there. Again, so how are you today, Krista?
Good. Yeah, I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be doing this.
It's
my first official podcast. So
that's crazy. Well, welcome to the big leagues. No, not really.
I'm excited.
I don't know if you've heard, but I'm kind of a big deal around here.
So. I love
it. So for listeners that are new to the platform, of course, myself, my real name's Chris Horder. I go by Chuck LaFlange because I do. It was a monster that I created a while back, and here we are now. It is what it is. So 20 some odd years in active addiction, recovery now for 20 months and a day, actually, I guess it would be. So yay for that. And this is my podcast. My co-host, Dr. Lisa, his lived experience as a loved one of somebody who suffers an addiction, and of course is a psychiatrist who works a lot with addiction, and has now been co-hosting with me for over a year, which is just crazy to think that.
I know.
Yeah, right. So that's who we are. Let's talk about you, though, Krista. That's what we're here to talk about. So, yeah. As we discussed pre-record, we're not really doing the whole testimony. Let's talk about all your crazy active addiction days. Let's talk about recovery. Let's talk about what gets you to recovery. What do your last days look like, and when's enough, and how does recovery start out for you?
Okay. I'll celebrate 9 years of sobriety in August.
Yay.
So 2015 was like the worst year of my life.
Yes.
I was 29, or about to be. No, I just turned 29. I was just going through a breakup. I met this new guy. We started dating and just partying hardcore. All the things, drinking. I mean, I'm on a resort island, so that's kind of like the norm. And I was a bartender since the day I turned 21.
Yeah.
So, and I've been in food and beverage like my whole life, and I have a very loving, large family. My dad's pretty well off. He owns a construction company, and I was actually able to live in one of his houses rent-free. I didn't have to work, but my boyfriend was making some good money. He moved in, and we were having a good time, what I thought. Mind you, I have had a history of drinking and taking it too far and getting arrested all the time, little things here and there. And I was always like in denial. I had a problem because everyone else was drinking. What was different about me? Why couldn't I keep up or not get arrested? Or why was it different for me? But so my last day drinking, it was like a normal day. And a friend of mine, ironically, asked me to go to an AA meeting. And I was like, no. And she's like, I'll give you a Xanax bar. And I was like, okay, let's go. So I couldn't, I know, I couldn't take a Xanax without
the
drinking
tradition?
on it.
What's the tradition? Attraction over promotion, I think. Sounds attractive to me, right?
I had never been to an AA meeting. I thought it was like cult-like. Like I just, no. But anyway, she was court ordered to it, so I was going along with it. And we get there, I see an ex-boyfriend in there, and I'm like, oh no. I go back out, and I'm drinking my Mike's Hard Lemonade by my friends in there. Doing the hour meeting. She gets out, and I'm feeling pretty good at this point. Takes me home. My boyfriend's there mowing the lawn, and for some reason, when I would take Xanax and drink on it, I was somebody I wasn't. I was a thief. I was a cheater. I was a liar. I never did any of that sober. None of that. Like, I can't feel. I can't, like, no. So, and even just drunk, I wouldn't do any of that. It was the Xanax. So I was talking to an ex-boyfriend on the phone, and I was upset he had a new girlfriend. And my new boyfriend's here. And he gets mad. He takes the phone, breaks it, and that's where I black out. And I broke a golf club over my knee, and I stabbed him in the wrist.
Oh, no.
So much blood. Like, he sprayed me there was so much blood. And people were saying that he wanted to get the evidence all over me. So I hit an artery. So we're fighting. He takes a Corona bottle and gets me in the arm right here. My skin's like open. This is 5 p.m. In this lovely little neighborhood I grew up in.
I gotta say, I
fighting.
went to my first meeting. I was not expecting the story to go here. So, right? Like, not at all. This is not how I expected that day to end. I was like, oh my God, she found recovery like before it got too bad. And no, it got really bad, didn't it? Okay,
yeah,
so please continue.
Violent.
Yeah.
I was like violent. I was an angry, violent person. So I run next door and call 911. She's got 3 young kids. They're seeing this whole mess.
Oh,
They probably need therapy for what they saw that day.
Yeah.
I don't even know what's going on. I'm blaming him for everything. Like, he did this. Call 911. So the ambulance shows up. My family shows up. The literally SWAT team shows up. They had a blueprint of our house. There was like rumors that people were making mess there. Like, it was weird. It was really weird.
Hey, sorry to interrupt you here, but I just want to let you know that one of the sponsors that makes this all possible is AARC. That's the Alberta Adolescent Recovery Center, located in, of course, Alberta, Canada. They are a treatment center for adolescents. Their program is one of a kind. Nowhere else in Canada. I don't think anywhere else in North America. They use a peer support model that's absolutely one of a kind. It's amazing what they're doing there, and I can't possibly do it justice in this quick little mention. So check them out, guys, at arc.ab.ca. That's ARC with 2 A's. Back to the show.
Really weird. They couldn't find my boyfriend because he thought he was getting in trouble. So he ran and hid. They take me to the ER. They finally get him at the ER. I'm like, just talking. I'm still feeling good. Even though I'm getting stitches, I'm still feeling good. And I get up to leave, and they're like, he's going to another city because it's so bad. He needs like serious surgery, and you're going to jail. And I was like,
wow. And
I managed to get a pain pill prescription squeezed out of that doctor as well for my teeth. I was there for okay, I was like just trying to get it all. So I end up getting walked out in handcuffs of the ER. I see him. He still loves me. He's like, I love you. It's okay. And he's in the back of the ambulance about to go to the next hospital or whatever. And I try to run in my cuffs in the ER parking lot, and they tackle me, get me in the car, whatever. And the next morning, I don't really remember anything. I wake up in jail. My bond is $25,000. criminal domestic violence at a high and aggravated nature. It's one under attempted murder. I knew I wasn't getting out. My mom wouldn't answer my phone. For that first week, it was scary. My cellmate killed someone in a DUI, and she had already been there a year, and she was facing about 10 years. She showed me AA in jail. I read that book. I was like, is this my life? Like, is this me? I related so much to the book. I didn't know anything about rehab. I thought it was cult-like. I didn't, but I knew this was like my 10th arrest. I knew I could not go back to that life. Like, this was like repeat. I had a lot of criminal domestic violence. I beat my boyfriends up, little me. And they called the cops, or I would call the cops, but I would go to jail. Story of my life. Story of my life. So the coolest part about
I've met
this
you
whole
before.
thing,
I think I dated you. Right? I know how that goes.
I don't know. I was an angry teen too. Me and my dad butt heads a lot, and I was like, I fought in high school. I got suspended a lot in school. Like I had a lot of anger that was unaddressed, and I see that now that played a huge role in how my life was spiraling out of control. It was mental health. Like there was some kind of depression and anger and all that. But so I'm in jail. My mom finally answers the phone. She's like, Krista, you can't go back. You can't go home. You can't go back. And I'm like, all right, well, I'll go to rehab. I'll do whatever. Sell my things. I don't want to go back to that. I almost killed my boyfriend. Like, no, I don't want to go back to this. So we made a plan. And also my grandparents, who ironically, they both passed away in the last 2 years, but I'm living in my grandma's house right now, which is kind of like, she was always my first phone call from jail because she lives in the town of the jail. And she always answered, but her next door neighbor, who's my neighbor now, is the head of public defender's office. And he was kind of retiring and stuff, but he was like head honcho. He came and saw me and he goes, your record looks like it's really, I didn't have any drug charges, but it looked like a drug and alcohol induced record, like the fighting and the DUI and there was just stuff like that. He's like, you should go to treatment. If you go to treatment right now, you most likely won't have jail time. So let's do it. Let's go. So we make a plan. My mom said, you're sitting in there for 30 days, which I'm grateful I did. I met some really amazing women. I got to get my head right before rehab. But we made a plan to go to a 4-month program, 3 hours away because there's nothing in my town. Nothing. You have to go 2+ hours away for anything, which is really, this is what's pushed me a lot more to speak up. But I am in the process of going to this treatment facility and I can't go because my another ex-boyfriend's there. And I'm like, so where am I going to go? I can't get out now. Like, my mom's going to keep me in here forever. So they recommended another place. So I ended up getting there. It's in Greenwood, South Carolina, the Oak. So it was Labor Day weekend. We did the plan. I bonded out. I went to Walmart, paid my bond, or signed my life away to the bondsman, bought a little wardrobe from Walmart, and my mom drove me 4 hours of treatment. I did not go back home. Did not pass go, did not collect $200. And it was Labor Day weekend. I get there. I'd never been to a rehab. It was like a shack. It was literally, I'm like, where are we? Where are we? We were literally in the hood, like trap houses next door. I'm like, where?
Culture shock for you, I guess, coming from the resort island, right? Yeah. And
then from jail, jail.
Yeah.
And they call it the Holiday Inn jail here because it's on the water.
Yeah.
So I get there, it looks like a 12-year-old little girl is checking me in. She's got a hat on back, like a flat brim hat on backwards. Like they're about to leave for Labor Day weekend. They go through my bag. They set me up. My mom's crying. She leaves. I'm like, bye, 4 months. And they took me under their wing. And these women, like, I'm still good friends with a lot of them, but they showed me Requiem for a Dream, my first day of rehab. Have you ever seen that movie?
I have
Yeah.
not. So it looks like Lisa has, though.
Ooh.
They
Really?
got
Oh,
really
yeah.
big trouble for showing me that movie.
It's brutal. Well, I like, again, as you know, Chuck said, I've never lived in that life, but I have a brother who has, and I certainly work with plenty of patients now who have. But for me, and again, maybe Krista, you can speak to this, but I felt like when I watched that movie, that it was maybe one of the most realistic representations for the muggles of the world to see what that
Yes,
life looks like. It's
I had no
brutal, Chris.
idea about that
Yeah,
world. Yeah, I was like a little drunk that pop pills.
yeah,
This is like,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
So
Wow.
the lady broke the DVD the next day. She was so mad they showed the new girl in it. Like,
Oh,
everyone's in trouble. It was a big deal. A big deal. Like, it's very triggering if you come from that world
oh,
too.
yeah,
Like, it
yeah.
shows it all, like, all the things. So anyways,
All
I
the
recommend
things.
that for people who are comfortable and don't get triggered and whatever. But anyways,
Yes.
I'm now in this rehab. They hand me the AA book. It's strictly like a 12-step program. They give me 2 weeks to like read the first 164 pages and like get the hang of it. And then you start doing your step work. You get a sponsor. You're doing like 10 meetings a day. As I'm reading this book and learning, I know a lot of people are like anti-AA, but I can guarantee you they didn't read that book without any false things told to them or like negative things. Like thought it was like a cult like, but I had never picked the book up and read it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I related so much, and I know it's a little old school too. So there are parts that people are like so liking it, but it's worked for people. It's worked. There's proven facts that it's worked to get
Without a
people
doubt,
sober
yeah.
and stay sober.
Yeah.
And so as I'm learning it, I'm asking them, I'm like, why is everyone in the world not working on themselves like this? Because you're literally like cleaning your side of the street and then just being a better person.
We've
Working on your
literally
character defects.
2 weeks ago, Lisa said that very same thing in an episode, actually. That's right.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's
I think it was 2 weeks
mind-blowing.
ago.
I said this 9 years ago, and I can't, like, that's why I push my stuff, too. I want the normal people to get it, because, like, I go to a Christ-based recovery meeting on Thursday nights, and I personally
what's recovery meeting? I didn't catch that.
Christ-based, like a Christian-based,
Okay, yep.
like kind of like Celebrate Recovery, like a kind of a spin-off on it, and I really enjoy it. It changed my life. But as I'm sitting there Thursday night, I'm like, we are taking an hour of our day, we're all sitting in here working on our character defects. Like, what are the normal people doing?
Not that.
But anyway,
right? Not that.
I dove deep into recovery. I loved it. I loved rehab. I missed my family so much. Every weekend I'd call and want to go home. But that's when it was boring and laid back and like there's not much to do. I ended up getting a job in the food and beverage world in rehab, so I was able to kind of get back into. I tried not to. I tried to work with animals and stuff, but no one would hire me. So I'm like, I guess it's restaurant world. So I went back. They understood where I was coming from. And then when I left rehab, I finished my 4-month program, and they wanted me to stay in the like sober living part to help the newcomers. So I stayed an extra month. So with 30 days in jail, 4 months in treatment, and then the extra month, I was gone from home for 6 months. Vanished. Yeah. No one knew where I was. Well, they knew where I was. But
so coming back then,
I got a job with a sober restaurant owner, and he took me under his wing. He showed me how to pour drinks and be sober while doing this. And it turned into an art for me. It was craft cocktails and mocktails and juicing and using fresh ingredients and all that. And I learned all about food, and that was really good.
So, Krista, do you mean that he taught you how to bartend and stay sober, or do you mean that this was a place where all the drinks were alcohol free?
No, it wasn't alcohol free. He taught me how to stay sober while being in the normal world, in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
allergic. I break out in handcuffs to
Oh,
alcohol.
jeez. First
Like
cliche of the
bad.
episode. There we go. Yeah.
That's actually brilliant.
Yeah.
It's a go
And
up.
so, can I ask you some questions?
Yeah.
So you mentioned alcohol, Xanax, but then you also talked about the pain pills. So was it mostly booze and benzos?
Yeah.
Were you using opiates or?
Kind of whatever would come my way. Like, ooh,
Yeah.
like, because I wasn't going to like a straight one drug dealer. It was like more party like. And I think if it would have been a few more weeks of me continuing this, I would have been hooked because the boyfriend I was with at the time, he ended up going to treatment while I was in treatment. And I didn't even know he was a heroin addict. No idea. No idea. He's
Oh.
overdosed while I'm in rehab. I got a foundation. He ended up going to Arizona, Prescott, Arizona, which is a huge recovery mecca. And then came back and he relapsed. And my story goes a little crazy here. So he comes back, relapses, but I'm staying with him. I believe in him. But I only know one way of recovery at this point. That's rehab. It worked for me. It better work for everyone else. Was I
Kidding.
wrong? Was I wrong? It was hard for him, and plus he was into the hard stuff and I just didn't know how it all worked, and he ended up going to jail for getting in a fight with me because I took his paycheck. He wanted to go blow it on drugs, and I took it, and he grabbed me, and it was a big scene, and but then he ends up going to another treatment center and is sober. He's sober. We get engaged. And then October 9th, 2017, I was at work bartending. It was short staffed. I get a phone call. He fell off the roof at work. He's in construction. And they said they think he broke his arm. And I'm like, I can't leave work right now. They're short staffed. I'm sending his mom there. And they put him in a coma because his spleen ruptured as well when he fell. And something happened during surgery, and his heart stopped for an hour and 15 minutes. And the next day, me and his mom go to the hospital, and the doctor's bedside manner was so bad. And he's like, I just don't think he's going to wake up. Like, it was just so weird. And he lived on life support for 3 days, and I held his hand for his last breath. And I was sober for 2 years at this point. I got sober, like, with him. Hardest day of my life. October 9th, he fell, and October 12th, he died. His birthday is October 2nd. So the month of October my dad's birthday is the day he fell. So it's like, so I got super spiritual. I was like, I'm not going to start drinking again. I have to honor him. I felt him literally, I don't know, it's weird, but I felt him inside of me as soon as he died. Like, he's in my heart. I had to, or I was going to go drink, or I was going to go do something dumb. So I had to believe he was still with me, and I kept trucking, and I was sad, and we had a puppy together. I left his dirty clothes on the floor for like 3 weeks. A month after that, I get kicked out of my apartment because the landlord lost it in foreclosure, and I was still paying her rent. And the new owners knock on the door, and I'm like, what do I do? So my sister ended up helping me, and I ended up getting on my feet again. And then I was super starting to get the hang of life, being alone, still grieving. Like, I feel like I'm still grieving. Like, that was like my future just changed all in 1 second, and it just got really weird. And then death's weird. Death's just weird to me. Like, I'm like numb now. It's weird. But that was so hard. His name was Brian, and he's the one I stabbed. And he survived that. He survived addiction, and it was a dumb route. But anyways, so he's in my heart. I go by signs. I literally thrive off him. Like, everything's a sign from above. And so a year goes by, and I bump into my high school crush, and he's my now husband.
Oh.
We were together for a week, And then I found out he was not sober. Yeah. So his cigarette pack had like some white powder in the cellophane, and I'm like, what is that? Like, oh, he was ready. He dumped it down the toilet. He's like, whatever. Like, I'm sorry. I'm like, here we go again. But so he has two older children, and he was married to one of their moms, and she had like found him using like 6 months into the marriage and just left him. Never gave him a second chance, just left him. So I was like, I'm not leaving her. Like, I helped Brian get sober. As loving somebody who, you don't want to give up on him. And I know we haven't been dating long, but I'm not giving up on this man. I felt like I already loved him. He took me for being like a widow, like he knew that was coming into this and stuff. And he knew Brian too. But anyways, he struggled big time. We tried everything. Remember, I was still one way, 12 steps. That's it. Let's figure.
Yeah.
Dude, you better figure it out. But then we were introduced to the MAT.
Yeah.
Like methadone and Suboxone and Subutex. And I was still like, because Brian used to abuse it. So I didn't even know that it was like a good thing, whatever. So he got on Subutex for a while and was doing really good. And then I caught him hoarding the medication, and he was obviously doing other stuff instead. But then he got sober again. We're back at it again, and I get pregnant. And he's sober the whole pregnancy. And then 2 weeks before I give birth, Brian's workman's comp paid me $125,000 from when he fell off the roof. We had a rundown car. We had roommate. We didn't have furniture. We didn't have anything. So we quickly got a house, got furniture, got a car, got to get our lives on track. I go in to give birth. I was induced, and I had diabetes for both pregnancies, so I just wanted to play it safe. They put me on my epidural, and guess what it is? Fentanyl. My epidural is fentanyl, so it says the word fentanyl on the bag that's hanging behind me. And my husband, I remember seeing it in his eyes, because he's sober. He relapsed the day I gave birth. And we had like 50 grand in the bank. So I had a feeling. Don't ever go against your feeling. I had a feeling. I saw it on his arm, but we had a new baby. There was so much going on, and he took full advantage of that. And when we got home, he'd be gone all the time, saying he was buying me earrings for Christmas, but he was actually getting cash back to go do whatever he was doing. So it was exactly a year of this. COVID just started. This was 2019, the end of 2019. So he really, really relapsed right the month of COVID. So we had to call 911, and they showed up because he had thought he was having like a stroke, and he was having a stroke, a mini stroke. And they were like, your wife's probably aggravating you. You should go for a walk. So anyways, a year goes by. Yeah. A year goes by. I'm like a new mom. I sent him to treatment. Like, we're trying everything. And MAT worked before. We weren't ready to go back that route. We wanted to see. I mean, he tried it all. And on my son's first birthday, he didn't show up. I got a call, he overdosed. Like, from birth, the day he was born to the first birth, like, that's so crazy. The next day he got sober, and he'll be 4 years sober in November.
Oh, thank God.
So he's sharing his story.
I want to take a moment, though, and acknowledge something, Krista. And I know from my own personal experience, you just listed off like 20 freaking reasons to relapse. And you've stayed strong through that entire process. That's amazing. That's amazing. Because you had a lot of reason to not. To not stay the course.
And thinking the same thing,
yeah, right. So that's amazing. Yeah. Good for you.
I got a higher power up there, but I truly believe my angel, Brian. It was like the fire in me. And then I've seen a lot more angels in the last 2 years, like a lot of angels. So,
of course, right.
But in the middle of Bubba, my husband's name's Bubba. In the middle of his relapsing and stuff and COVID and social media taking off because of COVID, no one can leave their houses. TikTok's huge. I don't know if you guys know who Brittany Jade is on TikTok. She's got like 3 million followers.
Okay.
She was one of the first to really recover out loud for like her. I watched her go grow so big, and people were responding. And then she followed me back. And then while Bubba was in treatment, I did start a recovery clothing line called Recovery Island. And I started making shirts with our sayings that everybody could benefit from, like let go, let God, faith over fear, little things like that. And people were responding, oh, hope dealer. And Brittany Jade helped me promote some of that stuff, but that was how I was going to pay for my life, being a single mom and all that. And so I started recovering out loud, watching Brittany. I'm like, all right. And I made a video saying I'm losing my husband to addiction. Please pray for us or something like that. And it was a video of my husband holding my son, sad song. It was only a couple seconds. I go to sleep because I had no other option. I had never felt more alone ever. I was in these Facebook groups, Loving an Addict. Like, I've been both, and I'm probably going to catch some crap for this, but loving an addict's harder than being one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You've been both. I don't think
agree.
anybody, and nobody has the right to give you crap about anything in your journey.
No, but
those are two things that you've experienced. So,
I've been shamed a lot. Believe it or not.
No, I think that's Lisa can certainly relate more to that. I mean, not as a romantic partner, but she obviously loves her brother greatly, and it is tough.
It's so hard to try to save someone who doesn't want to be saved yet. It has so much potential, or they're showing signs they do want the help, but they just can't surrender it. They just
so Krista, part of our show, or part of this platform, a big part of what we do is we focus on the loved ones of people who suffer an addiction, like in a big way, and we've done that from early on. And one of the reasons for that like I've said this many times, for every person that suffers an addiction, there's 10 people, and that's just an arbitrary number I pulled out of the air, but it's at least 10 people that are affected, right? And there's no resources 49%. Going to there's no resources going to those people, very, very little, right? So we actually have one of my sponsors, FAR, is Families Against Addiction, or Families for Addiction Recovery. That's their focus is on the families, 100%, right? But as somebody, loving somebody in addiction, and I've said this about my mom, when I'm high, she stresses out. When I'm sober, she stresses out. It's different stress, but it's still stress. She never, and for the rest of my life, on some level, she is going to worry. If I don't answer the phone, like I was sober for a year and 10 days, and I didn't answer the phone. You want to see what Lisa did? I didn't answer the phone for like a day and a half. And I was at 30 some odd missed calls or something. I didn't even realize it, right?
A welfare check.
Yeah, right. Lisa's calling me, right? And like 32 times because I hadn't answered the phone, right? That's the kind of stress our loved ones go through. So for somebody to try and invalidate that, for you to say that in your experience it's harder, I think is ridiculous, and nobody has the right to do that. I love that. Right? It's very hard. Yeah.
And I think too, like people who are in active addiction, right? We've talked about this on the show, maybe every episode, but their brains are not working properly.
They're not themselves.
No. And so when you are assuming you're a sober loved one, and obviously that's not always the case, but when you add in the fact that, if your sober one or your loved one is sober, it's like, well, our brains are working properly. And so we're appreciating all of the chaos. We're appreciating all of the risks. We feel completely helpless. Like you said, like you can't force somebody to do something that they're not willing or ready to do. Now, again, that takes down, you can go down the avenue of mandated treatment. We won't go down that road right now, but it's like, but that aside, we're sitting there watching our loved one. And like, I remember having this feeling that like the best analogy I could use is it was like he was taken over by some demonic spirit. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I felt like I
Oh,
could
yeah.
see him and I couldn't get to him. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was like there was something bigger and darker and more powerful that had its grip in him. And we were like, I always felt like I was trying to save my brother from this monster,
Yeah.
you know, and you feel
Yeah.
completely helpless most
Absolutely.
of the time.
And in my case,
And
when I try to save some, or, you know, like I try what I can, I get a lot of judgment because I am sober and they think I'm judging them. And I'm not. I'm actually like as compassionate. I'm on their level, like putting
and
myself
that's
in those shoes.
that's a cognitive distortion that somebody in addiction that's we don't as a sick person. I don't want you to want me to, you know, I'm looking for resentments, because if I have resentments, I get to stay high, right?
Yeah.
And high's where I want to
Yeah.
be. High's where my addict brain wants me to stay. I'm going to look for
Yeah.
those resentments, and so you can't even, like, to take that personal, I think is doing a real disservice to yourself and even to the person
Right.
who you're trying to help, because
That's
it's
a big
just
battle
not
I just
right.
went through, and I'm seeing
Yeah.
the light now.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
Right. Yeah.
Trying to
But
save
that's
people.
to not take those behaviors personally is a mountain unto itself to climb.
Oh, it's so hard.
Right?
Yeah.
So
You know,
hard.
how do you do that? How do you do that? And the person who's taking to the person who's, you know, who's suffering an addiction, we get to check out from all that shit, right? We just go get high. Those are feelings I don't want to feel, and I've got a coping
Yeah.
mechanism built in for that. So while you're stressing out, I'm just going to be over here,
You're just
like,
gonna
get
go
rid of
numb
that stress. Oh,
yourself.
yeah.
Just
So
go
you
numb
do
yourself.
that, and I'm going to be over here,
We'll feel it for you.
and then I'll get sober.
Yeah.
You know,
And then everyone will be proud of me, but you'll still be stressed out. And it's a no-win situation. It really is.
Yeah.
Right? You know?
but also
Yeah.
like something that we've also talked about before, but I feel like it's coming up for me right now listening to this conversation, is like the amount of judgment that exists, and it exists from ignorant, sober muggles in the world. It exists within the medical profession, but even, you know, we've talked about how, well, the cocaine addict looks down on the person addicted to crack. You know, how, again, people in sobriety can be very judgmental about the
Ooh.
right way to get sober.
Yeah.
Like, it's just everywhere. Like, it's so sad and so
It's
disappointing. And
closed-minded.
Yeah.
like, it's
Yeah.
just
100%. Right.
But that's why we're
everywhere.
here. That's why we're
That's why
here.
we're here.
100%. That's why we're here. Right. That's why I get up in the morning or in the middle of the night. So it is here.
Yeah.
What time is it there?
It's 12:17 a.m. here. Yeah. So yeah.
So you're 12 hours, 11.
Yeah. 11
11
hours
hours.
in front of you. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Wow. So you're already in tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm in the future. Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
Tomorrow's
cool.
okay, by the way. It all works out. So yeah, whatever's on your
The
brain,
rest
it's
of the
all going to
day
be okay.
says-
Yeah. It all works out. So yeah.
So wait, back to I just want to finish that story I was saying how
No,
I
go
made
ahead.
that
Yeah.
TikTok. I got 16,000 followers overnight. No hate at all. My video was up to a couple million. This was a brand new account. I didn't want anyone to know, but I wanted people to know. Like I didn't want my local people to know, you know, but I wanted the support. That showed me right there that power of prayer is unreal. And I said, then he got sober, and I said, I have a platform. So I grew it and 60-something K on TikTok. And then I said, when you said Halloween, you moved there in Thailand. That's the day I started posting my TikToks on Facebook. And it blew up.
Wow.
And now I'm almost
Good for you.
112,000 followers. So
See,
that's
I
how I got my
just want to throw a
platform.
little bit of hate your way. Just a little bit of hate your way. I've been at this for a year and a half solid, 16-hour days, and I'm at 5,500 followers. So
I was thinking you need to do like videos with your views, like where you live.
yeah.
Like the
there's some
stuff you were
I'm working on
explaining
that
where
way.
you live, you need to make some
Yeah.
content using those backgrounds.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So most of my
Yeah.
content comes from the podcast, of course. Right. So
Yeah.
you know, we do 3 episodes. a
I was
week. work
wondering why
insanely hard at
yours
this.
was
Yeah.
not that high because you got some
Yes.
good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, right. It's coming. It's coming. Hey, when
It's
I got to
coming.
Thailand, it was at 600. So we've almost 10x'd it in the 6-7 months that I've been here. So
Yeah.
it's coming
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
It's coming around.
Well, I
right?
got tips and tricks
Yeah.
too if you need help with your reels.
Awesome. Hey, I'm always open to things, right? So,
So, Krista, another question. So, when you got put in jail, because you said that you went to jail and then your mom was like, you're going to stay there for 30 days. I mean, what about detox? Because obviously alcohol withdrawal is medically dangerous. So, did you have detox in jail?
Obviously my body detoxed, but they didn't check out, like there was no checking. I was in there with girls that were detoxing from heroin and stuff. And I mean, they would check. There's nothing you can do really with that. Here's an Imodium in jail for the heroin and stuff. But I think if I can remember, because there were a couple alcoholics in there, like the lady that would soak up the hand sanitizer in a paper towel and then suck it out. I'm like, wow, that's alcohol. Like, that's a real alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. Like, that's how I felt then. But I'm sure the nurse saw them a few times. But since then, we have so much more good stuff in that jail, like the people taking care of them. There's a recovery advocate, all types of stuff. So I'm sure they're a lot more on top of it. But my body definitely detoxed in there. For sure. I didn't really I felt like crap. Like, so when I went to rehab, I was feeling great.
System, right? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In the penal system, there's not much help for detoxing off anything.
No, and that's
and
even
even less with alcohol
too.
than there would be with something like opiates, right? Like much less actually with opiates. Yeah. So nobody's really. It's not the focus, unfortunately. And if maybe that time was taken as an opportunity instead of what they're doing. And now that said, and you just said it yourself, it's so much better now than it was then.
Yeah.
Right. And
yeah,
as people, we tend to focus on the negative. It's just human nature, right?
Yeah.
But society and our systems have come a long ways in the last 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, right? From where they were, right? And there's a lot more work to be done. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's important to acknowledge that even calling addiction a disease is now mainstream, right? The outliers are the people that argue it. They're a vocal minority, and they're vocal and they're ignorant and all of
That's
those
a
things.
big controversy I have in my comments on my videos.
Oh, of course it is.
I kind of let them argue away.
I love getting into those. I love them, right? I was telling, there's a thing that I do. You might appreciate this.
But
or you might think I'm
the drug up. But every scenario is different. Like, what about my husband who got hooked from an injury, a football injury, and the doctor was prescribing him and then cut it off? Like.
Well, Lisa loves to draw comparisons between other diseases, diabetes, heart disease, obesity, right? These are all things that are caused by behaviors, right?
Yeah.
Not all the time, but often, right? Yeah, of course they are, right? Often they're treated without medication.
Like smoking,
right? Yes,
to like
all
lung
these things.
cancer,
And the other thing, Krista, sorry, go ahead.
No,
the other thing is continue. Like, for the people who say that to you, I mean, how many of them drink?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
So you did what they did what you did. But again, I think some people are genetically wired, they're predisposed to addiction, right? So I often say, like, people love that argument of, well, you did it, it was your choice. But if you actually take it back, most people who end up suffering an addiction made the exact same choices as the people who didn't end up suffering an addiction. But you're a kid.
That was me. I wasn't drinking, like, the alcohol was doing something different than it was to my friends. And now they're lawyers and stuff. And I'm just a recovering alcoholic. I take drugs. No. It's all good now. I'm very happy where I am. But I did not grow up to be a recovering alcoholic by the time I was 30.
Yeah. It certainly wasn't in the plan, right? But
no one chooses that. That's the other counter, right? Is that when you look at
but
people,
no one
it's like
regrets the recovery.
Right. But people don't seek out a life of addiction. And
misery
anyone
and
who thinks
loneliness,
that
and
somebody chooses that doesn't have a bloody clue what it's like to live that life, because nobody chooses to live that way.
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
no, they most certainly don't, right?
Yeah.
So these days, and I've watched some of your content, not a ton of it, if I'm totally honest, because I'm on social media all day, every day, doing my thing and working, right? But how's it going for you? Where do you plan on going now with the platform? Do you have a specific mission in mind? Do you just keep doing what you're doing? Big things. Tell me about your big things.
So where I live, Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. I don't know if you guys ever heard. It was a year or two ago, the big Murdoch murder. He killed his wife and son. He was a lawyer in South Carolina.
Yes, I have heard of that. Yes.
He helped get me out of jail.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And his co-defendant was my main attorney, and he's in prison now. Okay. Because they took a lot of lawsuit money, too, from people. Like, they'd say, we get you millions for wrongful death and not get them a penny, but pocket it all. Millions and millions and millions. And they're from this area. Like, it's crazy. So, we got a lot of, publicity and, how corrupt our government is here. But besides that, there's no detox here 2+ hours away. You can't detox here. If someone wanted to quit drinking today, they called me. I go, you can try the Charleston Center. I think it's a government run place, but it's 2 hours away from here, and it's first come, first serve, and you have to pray there's a bed open, and you got to keep calling every morning. In between that time right now, with what's out there, that's life or death.
Yeah,
so that's a problem. People come to me every day because I've been recovering out loud since I got sober. Like, the day I went from jail to rehab, I posted on Facebook I was going to rehab. And then when I got home, I was recovering out loud. I was proud of myself. And then people started seeing that you could change. And my inbox, local people are always messaging me, where can I get help? Blah, blah. Just word turn, because Google won't tell you anything. So, and then my mom, she's going to get me all the paperwork that she wrote down. She said it was so hard to find me rehab. She said she has pages and pages of resources she had to go through to find for me to go. So, it's 10 months ago, I had a friend reach out. He was suicidal on Facebook Live. And I reached out and I said, dude, I can help you. Let's do it. You don't have to live like this. He accepted. So, mission, game on. Let's do this. So I had to find him a detox. That was hard. He ended up going to the psych ward at the Charleston Hospital. We went on a prayer. I got a sitter for my kids. My husband and I flew him in the back of the truck. We went and we took him to the ER, and he had to tell him he was suicidal, so they would take him. And they detoxed him there.
You're talking Lisa's language right now. This is Lisa's day. An average day at work is what you're talking about right now, right? Yeah.
How you can't get help if you want it. It's impossible.
Truly amazing.
So this is what's made me speak up even more, because we need this. Mm-hmm. We need a detox here. So, because when I went to rehab, you could go to the hospital then. They would detox you then, but now it's not a thing. So, because we would drop the new girls off and come back in a couple of days, and they're ready to start working the program and get their book, and and so we took them. I kept in touch with the caseworker. She was helping me, and my husband was very involved in this. And we had someone we had a foundation pay for a 4+ month program, 2+ hours away. So we had his bed secure, but he had to detox first. So he successfully does it. My husband ends up, because we have 2 small kids, so we can't just pick up and, someone's got 2 kids. So he went and took the whole day to drive all the way out there, take him to rehab, take him to Walmart. I raised $1,300 to get him new clothes, whatever he needed to give him money throughout his day in treatment, because it's hard. It's hard if you don't have a loved one or funds and you're hungry when you're sober. You're starving.
This is true.
You want to eat all the food. So, So we get him to treatment finally, and that I just couldn't believe how hard it was to get him. He just celebrated 10 months of sobriety. So
Aw.
excited.
Aw, yay.
But he got his,
Yay.
like, he's back in his kid's life. Like, it's a beautiful thing. But I'm like, we got to do something about this. So I found out when they do town meetings. It's usually the second or fourth Tuesday of the month. And I first got asked by the sheriff, the next town over, the sheriff asked me to, or chief of police asked me to come and speak on, because we just got the opioid settlement fund that America got a large amount, and each state gets a certain amount. And this little town got like 25 grand, but the county we're in got like $600,000. So I wanted to see where this money was going, because these people aren't living what we're living. Like, do you really know what we need? We need Narcan, first off. We need harm reduction, because if you can't stop it, let's make it safe first.
Yeah.
And half the councilmen didn't even know what Narcan was.
Wow.
But they wanted to know more. It all started with the election of the councilmen, and they said, someone asked, hey, town, do you have any questions? And I said, what about Narcan? What about detox? What about treatment? And it blew up. And this question was asked to all the councilmen. It was made into a YouTube, all this, and my voice was out. The questions were being asked. And I went and spoke in front of that town. And then the next month, I went and spoke in front of the whole county, did my public comment. I learned how to do a public comment, and it's 3 minutes. And I went prepared. And then I went to the town, Hilton Head Island, where I almost destroyed my life. And I went and I spoke in front of the mayor. And it was just, it was just a feeling. And they listened.
For
and
you,
they
that's
congratulated
amazing.
me. And they put a advocate in the jail with that money. They put, they're giving the coroner Narcan, because when he shows up for a OD, the people that were using with that person are usually there. Give them the Narcan, even though their friend's not coming back, but give them the Narcan. They upped the toxicology report to make it only like 72 hours versus 2 or 3 weeks to get that back, so they know if there's a hot spot happening, they can alert the community. Like, they're making moves.
Wow.
So
You must be so proud. You should be so proud of
I'm
yourself.
like, I'm sick of seeing my friends. I lost 3 friends in 30 days, and it rocked my world. It rocked my world.
Yeah.
And just being a new mom and what I put my mom through, I'm going to cry. But like, just seeing these moms watching their kids, they have this size, just not want to help themselves or listen to their mom anymore, or like want to be better. It just, I'm fighting for them. It's really the
Good for
mom.
you.
That's amazing.
And
That
the
is
kids need their
absolutely
parents
amazing.
back.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of loved ones in my life. I can't speak on it. It's not my story. I can't save them. But I'm watching these kids suffer big time. I had a perfect childhood. I really, really did. My parents are still married. I was raised Catholic. My parents, they're not perfect, but they made it seem, I had a rock solid childhood. And seeing things now, it just breaks my heart, because every kid deserves what I had.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, kidding, eh? That's amazing. Congratulations. Like, good for you. Good for you for recovering out loud in the first place.
boy, my goal is to be
picking
in
up the torch,
Washington, D.C.
right?
Thank you.
Keep
But I want
pushing,
to go to Washington,
right?
D.C., and I want to make a law or an act that if you go to jail for any drug charge, that you are at least just offered a treatment plan.
Yes.
You don't take it.
Yeah.
Just someone told me about it, and I took it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Right. That's
be
amazing.
a law.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lisa, do you got anything else to ask before we move into gratitudes? All of a sudden we're at the top of the hour here. So
Crazy, right? No, but I do want to just I don't know if we want to call it add on to something, is that one of the things, so I'm all for, yes, recover out loud, show people, lead the way, light the path, whatever, recover out loud. I do something that Chris and I have spoken about, and we haven't really done a lot of it on the podcast yet, but I feel like it warrants like an entire episode. is I also want to tell, if there are people out there who are sober, who are listening, or who are struggling, is relapse out loud too. Don't relapse in secret. When you relapse, yell it, let the troops come to you. Right. But I think a lot of people recover. I think people are proud of their recovery. And so it's easier to recover out loud. But I think relapse is so shame riddled.
Absolutely.
That people do that in secret, and it's deadly. And so relapse.
I couldn't agree more.
There's a lot less shame in a relapse than there is grief at a funeral. So just own it.
Absolutely. There's a big content creator that he's sharing his story.
Josh.
I don't know. Yeah.
Josh.
I was in
the comments boring with people on that one. Absolutely.
Hey,
that's
I'm so proud of that
Josh
dude.
Hartlett.
Scar Nation.
Cartlett. Yeah.
Shout out
Scar
to you,
Nation.
Josh.
Yeah.
We're proud of you, dude.
Big time.
That's
big time.
beautiful. Yeah. I want to cry because it's so cool. He's he's out there. He's open. He's like, screw it.
Yeah. And he is. He's owning his mistakes, and and more people need to do that, because
people need to know what the topic he's talking about too. So.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So wonderful.
This was awesome.
We could go on for hours. But
I actually have to tell you, I looked up and saw we were at like 45 minutes a little bit ago, and I was like, what? I felt like we've been here for 10 minutes.
Really fast.
Where did they go?
Yeah. We're gonna have to get you back on, Krista.
Yeah, for sure. Anytime.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, let's move into my favorite part of the show. That's the Daily Gratitudes. So the Daily Gratitudes are brought to you by FAR Canada. That's Families for Addiction Recovery. They're a nonprofit organization based in Canada. They offer completely free services, including 4 weekly meetings for people in similar circumstances to get together and support each other. They have some one-on-one peer. They have a one-on-one peer-to-peer support system that is absolutely next level. And as well, they offer some real-time support if you call into their phone line during their business hours. So you can look them up at farcanada.org. And in the meantime, here's your Daily Gratitudes. So what you got for some gratitudes, Krista?
I'm grateful to be on this right now. This is awesome. Yeah. You guys are amazing. I'm super grateful to just be happy, to enjoy the moment, to not have to worry about, have that prison in my mind. And gratitude multiplies. So if you're jealous of something, be grateful for them and you'll get it.
Absolutely.
I love gratitude.
Yes. Lisa, what you got for some gratitudes?
I'm grateful to meet you, Krista. I think the thought I had as I was thinking about a gratitude for today is that if we go back 25 years when my family started on this journey, I felt very alone, in wanting there to be change and there to be more and there to be education and there to be help. And I just find with this podcast, like every week, I feel like I'm meeting somebody else who has those same goals and those same motivations and that same love for people. And so it's just so awesome to be meeting people, Krista being one of them, and just realizing that, none of us are alone. There's a huge community of people that want to make this better. And there are people in recovery. There are family members. There are medical professionals. There are so many people. And I think things like, this podcast that Chris has created, it brings people together, and our voice is so much louder when we're united, when we're together. And so, yeah, that's what I'm grateful for.
I'm obviously grateful for another wonderful conversation. Krista, you're a fantastic guest. And yes, that's not just the obligatory kind of offer to come back sometime. I'm definitely going to have you back on. I'm also, today I was thinking about our sponsors for the show. So Krista, something you don't know, I have struggled financially from the day I started this until very, very recently. And just this last month, I finally got a sponsor that puts me over the cusp of I'm self-sufficient for the first time in years. Right. But, and Lisa knows this part of the story. I have been in survival mode for so long that I forgot what it was like to not be stressed out all the time. And now for just this past couple weeks, 3 weeks, maybe since I got the news of this last sponsor, my most recent sponsor, it's been like, wow. Like, I remember what it's like to
Oh,
just enjoy life again, right? And not be
yeah.
like I've been counting potatoes broke for a very long
Yeah.
time. So this is
I
like, this
know
is a
that
big deal. So
feeling.
to
Yeah.
my sponsors, to Far Canada, to the ARC program, to, of course, Mike here at the Yatra Center, who's done so much more than financial sponsorship for me and giving me that scholarship to treat my trauma. I am so grateful to my sponsors, so I'm also grateful to
Mm.
every single person who continues to like, comment, share, do all of the things, subscribe, whatever platform you're on. Every time you do these things, you're getting me a little bit closer to living my best life. My best life is to continue making a humble living, spreading the message. And the message is this: if you're in active addiction right now, today could be the day. Today could be the day that you start a lifelong journey. Reach out to a friend, reach out to a family member, call into detox, go to a meeting, pray, go to church. I don't care. Do whatever it is you got to do to get that journey started, because it is so much better than the alternative. And if you have a loved one who's suffering an addiction right now, you've just taken the time to listen to this conversation. If you just take one more minute out of your day and text that person, let them know they are loved. Use the words,
You are
You are
loved.
loved.
that little glimmer of hope just might be the thing that brings them back.